Emmeline is a powerhouse drama by a great American composer, Tobias Picker, and this is exactly the kind of musical adventure that opera theater of St. Louis audiences have come to love season after season. Emmeline was a huge hit when it was brand new in 1996 at the Santa Fe Opera and then at the New York City Opera, and was on television on PBS. Great performances. And this production at Opera Theater is the first major new production of the opera since then. So it's a big event in the American musical world. What makes it great is the power and drama of Tobias Picker's score with J.D. McClatchy's incredible libretto. So when it was new, the audiences and critics just went over the moon. The Times of London, the Sunday Times, called it accessible, exquisitely crafted, and hugely enjoyable. The San Francisco Examiner says it's a soaring work, maybe the most impressive American piece since the Ballad of Baby Doe. And the Village Voice wrote, "Don't miss it. It's one of the most powerful American operas to have appeared in the last half-century." The opera is a kind of a dark but lyrical retelling of the classic Oedipus legend. It's set in 19th century northern New England, and it's sort of a heart-wrenching story with emotional pull, because it's about this young girl, Emmeline, who is a person of both innocence. I think she's 13 years old when the opera begins, and a kind of sturdy hopefulness that makes us really fall in love with her. But her innocence is also sort of her downfall. This was a common practice at this time, that American families without means would send their teenage daughters to these mill towns in New England to earn money for the family. So Emmeline is such a person, but she finds herself seduced, you might say, victimized by her supervisor at the factory, and she becomes pregnant. And despite her pleading, the baby is taken away from her, and she never knows where the baby goes. Years later, she's living with her family, and she falls in love with a mysterious young stranger. And the problem is this sort of circle of lies, lie upon lie, that surrounds Emmeline and her family. And ultimately those lies once again stand in the way between Emmeline and her finding happiness. We have directing this production Opera Theater's artistic director, James Robinson, and he is teamed up once again with Alan Moyer, set designer, and James Schutte, costume designer, the team that have given us so many of our greatest and most memorable Opera Theater of St. Louis productions. This production will take as its inspiration the sort of visual poetry of Andrew Wyeth and his paintings and engravings that are so famous for capturing the American landscape in a kind of combination of desolation and extreme beauty. The costumes will be 19th century period, really evoking the specificity of this New England industrial life. Playing the role of Emmeline, which is really the key, is a great soprano making her opera theater debut, Joyce El Khoury. And she's already sung at major opera houses across the United States and Europe, and we're so excited for her to bring this role once again to the stage. And as Emmeline's seducer, we have the great American bass baritone Wayne Tigas. On the podium is George Manahan, one of the great American conductors who most recently gave us that smash hit of Terence Blanchard's Champion. So we have once again the perfect team to bring this great American opera to life. I will never forget seeing Emmeline when I worked for the New York City Opera, and we did it in 1998. This was the kind of piece that nails you to the back of your seat, and you wake up the next morning still sort of thinking it over and rolling it back in your mind. And I found myself thinking about it for weeks and really years since seeing it that one time. So I'm so excited to be bringing it to the stage again.